The room was buzzing, the kind of restless electricity you only feel when the nation's eyes are fixed on one stage. Cameras rolled, lights glared down, and every seat was filled with lawmakers, reporters, and citizens eager to witness a clash of two very different voices. On one side stood Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez, a sharp, fiery, and unafraid to cut deep with her words. On the other, Pam Bondy, a seasoned lawyer, former attorney general, and a woman who had weathered storms far bigger than tonight's showdown. The moment began with a laugh. I leaned into her microphone, her tone dripping with sarcasm. "You know, Pam," she said, with a smirk spreading across her face, "for someone who loves parading around that law degree, you sure seem to forget how the law actually works." The jab landed hard. The audience stirred. A few reporters chuckled. Ak had thrown her punch with the confidence of someone who believed the opponent would have no comeback strong enough to touch her. But Pam Bondy didn't flinch. She didn't raise her voice or roll her eyes. Instead, she let the silence hang for a beat long enough to let Ak's mockery echo across the chamber. People leaned in, sensing something was about to shift. Bondy took a small breath, her gaze steady, her presence calm but commanding. Then came the sentence. Just one line that didn't need theatrics, didn't need volume, because truth has its own weight. "Congresswoman," Bondy said, her voice firm and unwavering, "I practiced law for decades to fight for victims who had no voice here. Remind me again, who exactly have you defended outside of Twitter?" The room froze. Gasps swept through the crowd like a wave breaking against rock. Ak blinked, her smirk faltering for the first time. It wasn't just a comeback, it was a scalpel, slicing straight through the noise and leaving nothing but silence behind. What made Bondy's words sting wasn't just the insult, it was the reminder that behind her polished reputation, behind her years of public service, she had real battle scars, cases fought in courtrooms, children protected from predators, families given justice when the system wanted to look away. Her law degree wasn't just a piece of paper, it was a weapon she had wielded for those who couldn't fight for themselves. Ak tried to recover, shuffling her papers, throwing out statistics, pivoting to policy. But the energy had shifted. Every sentence she spoke after that sounded thinner, weaker, because the audience had already seen the heart of the matter. They'd seen authenticity silence performance. Bondy didn't gloat. She didn't pile on or drag her opponent through the mud. Instead, she leaned back slightly, her face calm, almost compassionate. It was the confidence of someone who knew she didn't have to prove her worth with clever jabs or applause lines. She already had. As the hearing continued, the tension in the room remained heavy, but so did the respect. Even some of Ak's strongest supporters had to acknowledge the moment. Pam Bondy had stood her ground and reminded everyone watching that experience and service are not things to mock, they are things to honor. By the time the gavel struck to end the session, the story was already being written in headlines and whispered in the corridors. Not about legislation, not about partisan bickering, but about how one woman's single, steady sentence had flipped the room upside down. And the message lingered long after the cameras shut off. Mockery may get attention, but truth spoken with conviction crushes everything in its path. Pam Bondy left the chamber not with the roar of applause, but with something far stronger, the quiet respect of a nation that had just witnessed the power of integrity over arrogance. And for everyone watching, it was a reminder words are powerful, but it's the life you've lived behind those words that gives them their true weight.